Part 15. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 141. While Xiaoruo was still working as an accompaniment, Akiyama Mio had already followed Beilong to the elevator leading directly to the soup roof floor. Akiyama Mio looked at the boy in front of her, feeling a little scared, because his attitude just now was too indifferent. For a while, no matter what happens, don't say you want to go home, Hakurio whispered in front, as if reminding Akiyama Mio. Akiyama Mio suddenly heard Hakurio's voice. She was startled, but she realized that the other party was not malicious, so she nodded. But Granny Tang asked you to sign the contract. It's best not to sign it. It's better to delay. Wait for Mr. Xia to come. He will take care of everything. Akiyama Mio remembered what the young man in front of him said. It seemed that the other party was not that bad, or he had a good relationship with Xiaoruo-jun. Although Akiyama Mio believed in Xiaoruo very much, she was still afraid. After all, she is just an ordinary Japanese female high school student. She was not very courageous before. She was even afraid that when she saw the legendary Tang Granny, she would kneel down on the ground out of fear. Courage, courage, courage. Akiyama Mio clenched her fists, trying to squeeze out her courage. For her, performing on stage as a lead singer was the most nervous moment, but the level of tension at that time was completely incomparable to what it is now. At this time, Xiaoruo was still drinking in the VIP room. I don't know how much Miss Sheng drank, anyway, she was always drunk, but she didn't pass out. That, I said to redeem you, aren't you thinking about it? Miss Sheng still didn't forget this topic even though her body was on the verge of collapse. Xiaoruo. Can't we change the subject? As if I am really a cowherd, Xiaoruo is also very depressed when facing this kind of customers. Miss Sheng, you are drunk, take a rest first, Xiaoruo couldn't help but said. I'm not drunk. Miss Sheng waved her hand, and then fell down on the sofa without warning. Accompanied by the sound of even breathing, it seemed that she had finally fallen asleep. Sure enough, she still drank too much wine. Call. Xiaoruo breathed a sigh of relief. She finally fell asleep, glanced at Miss Sheng's sleeping posture. Xiaoruo took out a piece of her own clothes from her private space, and covered her body. Miss Sheng, you are tired. After finishing speaking, Xiaoruo took Tom and left the room. Outside the room, Xiaoruo saw Xiaoling who was coming. What's wrong? It's no good, Mr. Xia, just now Granny Tang asked Mr. Bai to take that girl away, but I didn't stop her. After Xiaoruo heard the news, he didn't react too much. He also thought of the situation. I see, you go to work first, I can handle the next thing. After finishing speaking, Xiaoruo set off towards the top floor. Akiyama Mio over there. The elevator soon reached the top floor. Following Beilong's footsteps, Akiyama Mio arrived at Grandma Yu's room. She also saw this very gorgeous room. From the decoration point of view, it was much more expensive than the ones below. Boom. 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 Mio Akiyama suddenly heard a strange crashing sound, and couldn't help turning her head to take a look. Immediately, the hairs all over her body stood on end. It turned out that there were 3 huge heads bouncing around, and the sound just now was the sound of the heads hitting the ground. These 3 heads seemed to be Granny Tang's pets. If Mio had encountered such a bizarre creature before, he would have fainted from fright, but now whenever Mio Akiyama is afraid, there will be a chill in his brain, to assuage that fear. Xiaoruo's magic didn't seem to be effective yet, but it was much weaker than it was at the beginning. Feeling the coolness coming from the brain, Mio Akiyama calmed down his heart and stabilized his mentality. At the same time, she also saw the person who should be the owner of the soup house, an old woman whose proportion is much larger than normal. Grandma Tang, we're here. Bai Long stood aside after finishing speaking. Granny Tang was writing something on the table at this time. When she heard Akiyama Mio came, she couldn't help but look up at her, and pushed her glasses. I heard that you and Syoruo have a good relationship. He even gave up his job to find you. That's right. You are both human beings, and your acquaintance in the human world is normal. I can only say that it's a coincidence. By the way, how did you two get to know each other in the human world? Do you know each other? Granny Tang seems to be very interested in the relationship between Akiyama Mio and Natsura, and when talking to Akiyama Mio, her tone is very gentle, just like a very ordinary neighbor old lady. But Akiyama Mio heard Granny Tang's question, and she didn't intend to answer at all. About Syoruo, she didn't want to tell the person in front of her, because she knew that the old lady was a bad person. Don't tell me. You are very courageous. Aren't you afraid that I will turn you into a pig? Granny Tang put down the pen in her hand and started threatening. Akiyama Mio's body trembled, but she still didn't say a word. Little girl, you are very courageous, but a child who doesn't speak is not a good child. I suddenly had a good idea to turn you into a pig, and then sent the pork to Syoruo's kitchen so that he could treat you as a pig. How about cooking with the ingredients, let Syoruo eat it by himself, and then tell him the truth, ha ha ha, it feels very interesting. Granny Tang spoke very scary words in a kind tone. Well. Akiyama Mio's eyes were a little blurry, it seemed that she was about to cry out of fright, but she forcibly held back her tears, and still didn't say a word. At the same time, she also realized how ruthless a witch Granny Tang was in front of her. Granny Tang didn't expect that she would be so threatening. The little girl still didn't say anything. She looked so timid, but she was unexpectedly strong. However, she had already seen something from Akiyama Mio's attitude. I didn't expect it to be this level. If you don't say it, it seems that the relationship between the two of you is unusual. Granny Tang's eyes became ambiguous. Is it love? Or admiration? Do you like Syoruo? Does he like you? Faced with Granny Tang's question, Akiyama Mio still did not answer, like a mute. No matter what Granny Tang asked, she would not say a word. Granny Tang narrowed her eyes slightly, and many thoughts flashed through her mind. Since this little girl has a good relationship with Syoruo, it is also an opportunity for me. It just so happens that she can't find a way to control Syoruo now. As long as Syoruo cares about this little girl and controls her, it is equivalent to controlling Syoruo. Ruo, I just don't know how important this little girl is to Syoruo's heart. Regardless of whether it is important or not, this girl is valuable, and Granny Tang is planning to let her sign a contract with her. By the way, your parents are still in my hands. If you don't obey me, I will turn your parents into pork and send them to Syoruo. Please let my parents go. Akiyama Mio finally couldn't help begging when she heard that her parents were in danger. Let it go? How is it possible? They are so bold as to eat the food prepared for the gods. If they do something wrong, they will have to pay the price. Granny Tang couldn't help but lit a cigarette, took a sip, and looked mockingly. Glancing at Akiyama Mio, mistakes cannot be forgiven without paying a price. Mio Akiyama has also been hit by the society at this time. No matter where she used to be, relying on her cute appearance, she was able to go smoothly, and she also attracted attention in school. No soft heart, no one will pity her except Syoruo. The world suddenly turned upside down. What's the price? What do I have to do to let my parents go? Akiyama Mio clenched her fists and asked, and she fell into Granny Tang's trap as soon as she opened her mouth. You. What can you do? You're thin and weak. You probably can't even handle the dishes in the soup house, ha ha ha, Granny Tang couldn't help mocking. Granny Tang glanced at Akiyama Mio, and suddenly changed the subject. However, in fact, I think you are still useful. In this way, you sign a contract with me to work in the soup house in the future. If I am satisfied with what you do in the future, I will let your parents go." With a light wave of Granny Tang's hand, a prepared contract appeared out of nowhere, and then under her control, it slowly flew in front of Akiyama Mio, followed by a pen. "Sign your name, and your parents will be saved." Granny Tang's tone became kind again. "If Akiyama Mio signs her name, then from now on, she will be completely a slave of Granny Tang." Akiyama Mio looked at the contract in front of her, and suddenly remembered what Bai Long said before, never sign a contract, and if Xia was not here at this time, she also knew that signing this contract would have very serious consequences. "Sign this contract, will you let my parents go?" "Of course, if you behave well, of course I will let your parents go," said Granny Tang, looking up at the chandelier above, taking a puff of cigarette. As a qualified exploiter, Granny Tang didn't even intend to let the two pigs go. After all, pork is also bought with money, and pork is also expensive now. She never planned to let Akiyama Mio's parents go. Anyway, after signing the contract, that girl is her slave. Whether she behaves well or not is up to her own discretion. Promising her to let her parents go is nothing but a promise, it's not written in the contract. She's the best at writing bad checks. Maybe, she's in a better mood, and after this girl has worked for me for 50 years, I think she's doing well, but by then, her parents will have already been out of the slaughterhouse. Ha ha ha. Anyway, these slaves can't resist the contract. Even if it is possible, Granny Tang will let Xiaoruo sign such a contract, and the hope lies in this Akiyama Mio. Granny Tang glanced at the little girl in front of her. This girl looked like a well-protected and good girl. This kind of innocent girl had no experience of being tricked at all. She was so frightened by herself before, so she probably couldn't see it at all. "Get out of the trap in your previous words. Sign it, your parents will have a chance to be saved if you sign it." Granny Tang continued to fool around. Akiyama Mio seemed to be thinking very seriously. After thinking for a while, Akiyama Mio seemed to have made up her mind. She raised her head and glanced at Granny Tang. I will sign this contract. I hope you will not break your promise and let my parents go." "Of course, I will do what I say, sign it quickly." Seeing that the little girl in front of her was about to sign the contract, Granny Tang's eyes narrowed with a smile. It seems that the plan has been fulfilled. "Wait a minute, let me take a look at the contract first." Akiyama Mio picked up the contract on the ground and began to read every word. Granny Tang sensed something was wrong. "If you want to sign it? Do you still want to save your parents? Aren't you afraid that your parents will be eaten?" "But I always have to check what contract I signed." Mio Akiyama was still looking at the contract. This little girl is stalling for time. She is waiting for Xiaoruo. Granny Tang immediately realized, did someone point her out? Granny Tang glanced at Bai Long, who was standing aside, but moved away again. Or, Xiaoruo reminded this girl before. But for this situation, Granny Tang is still very calm. After all, she is experienced and understands this kind of little girl psychology. The contract will be signed immediately in a panic. "Sign this contract quickly, I'll count to 3, if you don't sign it, your parents will die, and you will die too," said Granny Tang. In order to scare Akiyama Mio, her whole body exploded with hair standing on end. Timing begins. 3, 2. Hearing what Grandma Tang said, Akiyama Mio was really at a loss. If the contract was not signed within 3 seconds, the parents would die, which meant that delaying time was no longer an option. Parents will die. Thinking of this, Akiyama Mio immediately picked up the pen on the ground. "Can I just sign it?" When Granny Tang saw this scene, she had an expected expression on her face. The little girl was still too simple. "No, I won't sign." In the end, Akiyama Mio put down her pen. She didn't know where her courage came from. She just remembered Syaruo's words. Before Syaruo made herself believe in him, Akiyama Mio planned to keep believing in him. She believed it. I realized that my parents and myself will be fine. You don't sign. Granny Tang was really angry. She stretched out her finger, pointed in the direction of Mio Akiyama and roared, "If you don't sign, turn me into a pig." Under Granny Tang's fingers, Akiyama Mio's body gradually swelled up, her cute face gradually became bigger and swollen, and her ears turned into pig ears. In 3 seconds, Akiyama Mio completely turned into a pig, huge fat pig. The fat body even tore Akiyama Mio's clothes. Bai Long watched the scene from the side, and frowned. He really didn't expect things to develop like this. He didn't expect Granny Tang to be so despicable, and he didn't expect that the girl didn't sign the contract in the end. Unexpectedly. But the matter has come to this point, it's over. Bai Long looked at the fat pig beside him with pity. No one can change the current situation. It seems that everything has been settled. Suddenly. Boom. With a loud bang, the floor on the top floor was pierced. With a whoosh, Syaruo flew up with a wooden machete, but after Syaruo came up, he saw a huge fat pig appearing in front of him. Syaruo glanced at the fat pig, and then saw that the fat pig had a pair of watery eyes, staring at her all the time, as if crying, and there were many familiar clothes scattered beside her. Akiyama Mio was turned into a pig, and Syaruo quickly judged the situation. Realizing this, Syaruo waved the machete in her hand, pointed at Granny Tang's position, and shouted, "You old witch, I knew you were not a good thing, you dare to shoot anyone I brought? Syaruo, are you going to rebel?" Granny Tang didn't expect Syaruo to be so brave. She actually pointed a knife at her and wanted to do something. She immediately jumped off the chair and hid behind the desk, taking a defensive posture as if facing a formidable enemy. To be honest, facing Syaruo, who is aggressive at this time, Granny Tang is a little hypocritical. She really doesn't know Syaruo's strength, and she didn't expect that Syaruo would actually fight herself for a girl. For an exploiter like her, she is most afraid of someone playing tricks on her. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Zhazi Jumiao. Chapter 142. At this moment, the atmosphere between Syaruo and Granny Tang was tense, and the battle seemed imminent. On the other hand, Bai Long was dumbfounded. He didn't expect Akiyama Mio to be turned into a pig before, and he didn't expect that Mr. Xia dared to fight Granny Tang now. Mr. Xia is really ruthless. Before he found out that the people in the soup house respected Syaruo very much, he thought it was the reason why Syaruo was kind and gentle. Now that he thinks about it, he might be wrong. Obviously everyone is here to learn magic. Why is there such a big gap between people? Granny Tang had never been provoked like this before, and Granny Tang was also very angry when Syaruo provoked her like this. She felt that her authority was being challenged, and no employee had ever dared to resist her. Although Granny Tang felt uneasy seeing Syaruo's fierce aura, she couldn't apologize to Syaruo. In this situation, one party must bow down. Granny Tang has always been superior to her employees, and in Granny Tang's view, the more excited Syaruo is at this moment, it proves that he cares more about that girl. This is also a good thing for her. She even feels that she has grasped Syaruo's weakness. Syaruo, it seems that I indulged you too much in the past. You have also learned magic from me for a while. Do you really think you are my opponent? Besides, the pig behind you, without my permission, she can't change into a human. You have to think about it. What a lovely girl, it would be a pity to become a pig. At this time, Granny Tang still did not forget to threaten Syaruo. Although she felt that Syaruo had the ability to break her own magic, she did not believe that Syaruo could break such advanced magic as transformation. Her pride blinded Granny Tang's eyes. So, can you change my friend back? Syaruo asked blankly. It's easy to change back. Granny Tang was very happy when she heard Xiaoruo's question. A new contract, as long as you sign a new contract, I will consider letting that girl go. Of course, that new contract is not a cooperation contract, but a slave contract like ordinary employees. Xiaoruo shook her head. Granny Tang was hopeless, and she still wanted to threaten herself at this time. It is estimated that in her eyes, everyone is just a tool. In fact, there must be a battle between Xiaoruo and Granny Tang from the very beginning, because Xiaoruo's mission is to bring Akiyama Mio and her parents home, and this can only be achieved by defeating Granny Tang. Do you really think that your transformation magic cannot be cracked? What? Granny Tang suddenly had a bad feeling. Xiaoruo made a move. He completely ignored Granny Tang's threat, rushed forward, and slashed at Granny Tang's head with a knife, showing no intention of showing mercy. Granny Tang saw that Xiaoruo was holding a wooden knife, but she didn't despise it at all, but backed away quickly. Do you not care about that girl's life or death at all? In that case, turn me into a mosquito. Granny Tang pointed at Xiaoruo. Xiaoruo suddenly felt a strange change in her body. A strange force was acting on her body. Her body seemed to be getting smaller, but because of the reality of her body was resistant to this attack ability, so the speed of shrinking is very slow. After feeling this, Xiaoruo immediately spread the power of reality all over her body. Baiu! The strange power in his body disappeared. Haven't you noticed? Your ability is useless to me. Xiaoruo continued to attack Granny Tang. Seeing that her transformation technique was cracked, Grandma Tang opened her eyes wide. The previous magic was cracked. It can only be said that those magics were too low level, but the high level magic of the transformation technique was also cracked. Mother-in-law can't accept it? Why? You are definitely not human. What kind of monster are you? Old woman, make up your mind. Xiaoruo slashed at her again, but was once again embarrassed by Granny Tang. Whoosh! A fireball flew towards Xiaoruo's head. Granny Tang saw that Xiaoruo had cracked her transformation technique, and directly used attack magic to deal with Xiaoruo. Snapped! The wooden knife in Xiaoruo's hand scattered the fireball in the air, just like breaking a bubble. Beilong, save me! Granny Tang tried all her abilities, but it still didn't work. She was getting desperate, so Granny Tang started calling for help from Beilong, but Beilong didn't respond at all when she heard Granny Tang's call for help. Beilong, you want to betray me too? Beilong just glanced at Granny Tang with a blank expression on his face. He was just Granny Tang's superficially loyal subordinate. He even hoped that Granny Tang would die so that he could get his name back. Xiaoruo's ability completely restrained Granny Tang, so the battle itself was one-sided. Soon, Xiaoruo solved Granny Tang, but Xiaoruo didn't kill her, just knocked her out, and Granny Tang's giant baby also came out to make a fuss when she heard the movement, but was still killed by Xiaoruo knocked out. After Granny Tang solved it, Xiaoruo glanced at Mio Akiyama next to her. She has turned into a pig now. To be honest, even if she is an anime girl, she will not be much prettier than other pigs after she becomes a pig. Looking at Akiyama Mio in pig form, Xiaoruo didn't panic at all. Xiaoruo put Akiyama Mio in Xiaoling's place before, because she actually thought that she might be taken away by Granny Tang. Xiaoruo has considered the possible situation of Akiyama Mio, whether it is signing a contract or turning into a pig. Yes, Xiaoruo doesn't care. Because he can untie it, everything is under Xiaoruo's control. Xiaoruo put her hand on Akiyama Mio's body, and brushed against the pig's body with the power of reality. Baiu! With the sound of Baiu and a puff of smoke, Akiyama Mio's body returned to its original shape, but her clothes were bursting because of the transformation just now, so when she transformed back, she inevitably revealed some scenery. Seeing this scene, Xiaoruo promptly took out a large coat from her private space and put it on Akiyama Mio's body, covering the body that was just exposed because of the torn clothes. Because she might have guessed that this would happen, Syaruo prepared a lot of this kind of coat, specially for coating. You are here. Resuming her human form, Akiyama Mio felt the coat on her body, and there was an indescribable emotion in her heart, peace of mind, or other emotions. Well, it's all right now, as I said, I won't let you have an accident, just trust me. Syaruo gently touched the top of Akiyama Mio's head. Mio Akiyama has never felt so at ease. This is the feeling of being rescued. When she is afraid, someone will help her to dispel the fear, as if the scary things have become less scary. Listening to Syaruo's voice and looking at Syaruo's figure, Mio Akiyama felt her heart beating faster. After coming to this world, she fell into despair, then was pulled out of despair, fell into despair again, was pulled out of despair again. As long as she was in danger, Syaruo would definitely come back to save herself. Like being a hero. Akiyama Mio felt that if he could go back alive this time, he probably would never forget this experience, nor this feeling in his whole life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 143. Granny Tang was knocked down, and Akiyama Mio was also rescued. However, it may be that Akiyama Mio was a little too tired and was frightened later. After being restored to her original state by Syaruo, Akiyama Mio soon fell into a deep sleep, and Syaruo had to let her rest first, and deal with the rest by herself matter. Syaruo took over the soup house by relying on her current reputation. Originally, Granny Tang was a mountain on top of the employees of the soup house. Everyone was afraid of being turned into charcoal and pigs by Granny Tang. There were not many protests. After all, she was just an exploiter, and the employees didn't have much affection for Granny Tang. Before, Granny Tang only controlled them through fear. Syaruo found their slave contracts through Granny Tang's mouth, and returned the names of all the soup house employees to them. They are now free, and many people cheered Syaruo's name. Many people who were punished by Granny Tang, and those who were cast by Granny Tang with transformation magic, those magic spells were also lifted by Syaruo, and they all returned to their original appearance. At Beilong's suggestion, Syaruo handed over Granny Tang. It is said that many employees who held grudges against Granny Tang hanged Granny Tang to death. And some of Granny Tang's magic notes and a large amount of property were taken over by Syaruo, especially Granny Tang's property. I don't know how many years she has accumulated it. It is gold and silver treasures. Syaruo felt that if he brought these treasures back to the real world, he probably wouldn't have to work hard for 10 lifetimes. Granny Tang has exploited her employees for a lifetime, and almost all her savings have been left here. However, Akiyama Mio's crisis has been resolved, and Syaruo's stay in this world is meaningless. To be honest, this world is very simple. At the beginning, Syaruo was too cautious. He didn't expect his power of reality to restrain Granny Tang's magic so severely. He even found Kikyo as a backup, which was useless in practice. I always feel that system tasks are a bit too simple. But in Syaruo's view, it's okay to be cautious. It seems that the task is completed in sight, but Akiyama Mio is fine now, but her parents don't know where they are. But fortunately, the core of the soup house is still the employees below, although Syaruo doesn't know, but someone knows. After Syaruo asked, some employees told Syaruo where Akiyama Mio's parents were, and Syaruo used to dispel the magic of Akiyama Mio's parents who turned into pigs. After everything was over, Syaruo took Akiyama Mio to the entrance of the tunnel she had just arrived at. Behind Syaruo was the endless grassland. With my own help, Akiyama Mio didn't suffer much. She was much better than Chihiro in the original work, The only thing worse than Chihiro was that Akiyama Mio had the experience of becoming a pig. Standing at the entrance of the tunnel, Syaruo stopped, and put her gaze on Akiyama Mio's face. I can just send it here. Your parents are now at the exit of the tunnel. They have forgotten everything that happened in this world. You don't need to mention it to them. You just need to go back the same way and you can go back to the tunnel. The normal world is over, by the way, absolutely don't look back during this period. After getting Granny Tang's magic notes, Syaruo used her reputation to learn some useful magic. At this time, Akiyama Mio's parents were slightly changed by Syaruo's memory, and they would not remember the experience of becoming a pig and after that. What about you, aren't you going back? Akiyama Mio looked at Syaruo with a hint of worry in his eyes. I will go back, but not now, Syaruo shook his head, and he glanced at Akiyama Mio calmly. I'm fine, I'll probably be home in a few days, and I haven't forgotten our agreement. When we arrive it's time to ask you to go to Hwagyo for a concert. Ah, you still remember this? Akiyama Mio's face turned slightly rosy when Syaruo mentioned this matter. Of course I remember, I won't forget this matter. Syaruo couldn't help laughing. By the way, I haven't asked you yet, when do you have time? If you have time, you can come anytime. Time, there was a slight deviation in the topic, but Mio Akiyama thought about it. 2 months later, we will be on vacation in 2 months. I think everyone has time. You can call me at that time. By the way, why do I always fail to send text messages to you? Send failed, Syaruo twitched the corner of her mouth. How could it be successful in a different world? Of course, such words cannot be said. When you are in danger, won't it be successful if you send me a message? Then when I'm not in danger, won't the sending be successful? Akiyama Mio seemed dissatisfied with Syaruo's answer. Maybe, I have more important things. Don't worry, I will not forget the agreement with you. I will find you in 2 months. Just don't change your phone number, Syaruo said gently smiled. Okay, I won't forget our agreement. Akiyama Mio nodded heavily. Let's go, your parents should have been waiting for you for a while. If you don't go back, they will be anxious. Well, Mio Akiyama nodded, his face became a little more serious. You are doing something very dangerous, and you have to promise me that no accidents will occur and no injuries will be caused. Looking at Akiyama Mio's serious look, it's really cute, and Syaruo also responded to her seriously. Okay, I promise you, I will definitely not be in danger, and I am very cautious. If there is danger, I will run far away. Akiyama Mio thought for a while. The scene where Syaruo directly punched through the floor to save herself didn't look cautious at all, but since Syaruo said so, she still believed it. Then I'll go first. Goodbye, see you in 2 months. See you in 2 months, Akiyama Mio said, walking forward slowly. Halfway there, Akiyama Mio stopped, as if she wanted to turn around and say something, but then remembered that Syaruo should not turn back reminder, so he stopped turning around again. Syaruo-jun, I have experienced a lot this weekend. I will never forget everything that happened, and I will always remember it in my heart. After saying this, Akiyama Mio left. When Syaruo heard this, she just smiled and turned around to leave. Akiyama Mio entered the tunnel, and because she listened to Syaruo's reminder, she didn't look back at all along the way, and soon, she saw the light at the exit of the tunnel. After walking out of the tunnel, Akiyama Mio saw 2 familiar figures, her parents, standing in front of her intact. Little Mio, why is it taking so long? Mom has been waiting for you for a long time. Akiyama Mio's mother waved at Akiyama Mio. Hurry up, little Mio, your grandma must have been waiting for us for a long time. Akiyama Mio's father also shouted at Akiyama Mio. Mom and Dad. Hearing the familiar voices of her parents, at this moment, Akiyama Mio seemed to have an urge to cry. In fact, It was only a short period of 2 days, but for Akiyama Mio, this terrifying experience in another world seemed like a century long. If it wasn't for Syaruo, she couldn't imagine what kind of despair she would face and whether she could survive. Thinking about it, even if she didn't disappear, she would probably commit suicide in despair. What's the matter? Why does my dear baby look so uncomfortable? Did you just fall somewhere? Let mom see. Akiyama Mio's mother noticed that Akiyama Mio's mood was not normal at this time, and immediately ran up to take a look. My sweetheart. What's the matter, what happened? Akiyama Mio's father asked. Little Mio feels like she's about to cry, and she doesn't know what happened just now. It's okay, I'm just a little excited, mom and dad are fine, Mio Akiyama endured, holding back the tears in his eyes. Silly boy, aren't mom and dad all right? I've been thinking about it all day, I'm about to get in the car, it's getting late. Akiyama Mio's mother pulled Akiyama Mio into his father's car. When the car drove away, Akiyama Mio looked back at the terrible tunnel. Although the tunnel led to a terrible place, it also brought her very terrible memories. But in that memory, there are also beautiful and happy moments. Just like what she said to Syaruo, she will never forget this beautiful memory. The car drove away quickly, and the tunnel disappeared completely, but, on the way, Akiyama Mio's father found something abnormal. What's going on? Why is the time on my phone wrong? Isn't today the 17th? Why is the time on the phone showing the 18th? Mio Akiyama's mother couldn't help laughing when she heard this. You're joking again, today is the 17th, did you not update the date on your phone? Impossible, my phone is connected to the internet, and the date is automatically updated, how could it be wrong? Akiyama Mio's mother also looked at her mobile phone, and was stunned. Oh, why did my mother call me so many missed calls, but I didn't receive any of them, no, why is it really 10 days today? The 8th, it is obviously the 17th, I will not remember it wrong. What kind of supernatural event? Akiyama Mio listened to her parents' conversation without saying a word, just looking at the scenery outside the window. After experiencing some turmoil, Akiyama Mio finally returned to the school she was familiar with after returning from her grandmother's house, and began to enter a normal campus life. But as soon as he came back, everyone from the light music department surrounded him. Mio, I heard that a supernatural event happened during your family's trip this time. Is it true? It is said that you disappeared for a whole day. At that time, your grandma called the police, and it was finally reported by the supernatural news. Lu couldn't help it. The first to come up and ask. This matter was actually quite a big deal, and many comments on the internet said that Mio Akiyama's family was a sensationalist, a liar, and the like. Although she called to ask immediately, Akiyama Mio was in a bad mood at the time, so she didn't ask too much at that time. After seeing Mio today, she found that Mio's state is quite normal at this time. Woke up and recovered. But she was still a little curious about the process. Well, time disappeared for a day at that time. Akiyama Mio's answer was the same as her parents' answer to the outside world. She didn't talk about the situation inside the tunnel, but said that her own time disappeared for a day. As for the tunnel at that time, many people looked for it again, but they couldn't find it at all, as if everything was wrong. Existing. Because of this, many people simply don't believe this incident. LV covered her mouth in surprise. She thought the fortune-telling result was fake before, but she didn't expect it to be a bad omen. Have you met a monster? Yui Hirasawa asked curiously. Met. Ah. The girls around shouted in surprise. After all, they are very good friends. They would not have the slightest doubt about Akiyama Mio's words, and Akiyama Mio didn't like to make such jokes either. Are there really monsters in this world? What kind of monsters have you seen, Mio, and how many there are? Miss Kotobuki couldn't help asking. A lot of monsters, all kinds, very scary. Goodoo. Hearing this answer, everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. There are really monsters in this world, and their worldview seems to be subverted. And what made them more concerned was that when encountering the situation Mio Akiyama mentioned, with Mio Akiyama's timid character, they would probably be scared to death. Mio, are you okay now? Ritsu couldn't help shaking his hands in front of Mio Akiyama, wanting to test whether Mio is still normal now. I'm fine. Although it was really dangerous at the time, fortunately someone saved me. Mio Akiyama behaved quite normally. Who is it? The girls on the side asked curiously. Syaruo-jun. Ah. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhoujiazi Jumiao. Chapter 144. Akiyama Mio saw a lot in that world, and gained a lot after returning to the real world. She encountered Ritsu's pranks and the things she was afraid of before, but now she doesn't feel them anymore. It seemed that in just 2 days, she had grown a lot. Syaruo has thought of all these things, but it doesn't have much to do with her. He is about to end his mission now and return to his own world. In the world of Spirited Away, Syaruo is equivalent to mastering the soup house. Many soup house employees have returned home after getting their names, but more employees stayed and continued working. Syaruo also improved the benefits of the employees, stopped exploiting them, and even paid most of the income from the soup house as wages. Granny Tang is still not satisfied after earning so much money, but Syaruo doesn't care about the income of the soup house. With the incentive of money, the employees of the soup house are more motivated. After handing over the management of the soup house to Bai Long and Xiaoling, Syaruo took some medicinal bath herbs and some local products from the soup house, and then returned to the real world with Tom, staying in the soup house for 2 full days. Month, even with the change of time flow, a month has passed in the real world. It took such a long time. He originally thought it would be resolved in 10 to 20 days, but Syaruo didn't expect it to take 2 months. As soon as he returned to the real world, Syaruo immediately appeared in his room. At the same time, he also heard the system beep. The plot task is completed. Evaluation, excellent rewards are being distributed. Reward 1, Independent Space LV2, increase the size of the independent space, after the upgrade, 10 cubic meters. Reward 2, Time Flow Rate Change LV2, improve the time flow rate change ability, after the upgrade, the time flow rate can reach 4:1. Reward 3, the number of animation free draws is 1. Syaruo looked at it and found that the rewards given by this plot mission are good, much richer than ordinary mission rewards. There are 3 rewards. Remember that your own independent space and time flow change are the rewards for completing the mission of receiving the light tone girl. At that time, the degree of completion was excellent, so I got the reward above. Now I get the same reward, but it is an upgrade. Speaking of which, Akiyama Mio is really her lucky star. With more space and more time, with these, it will be more convenient for me to do things in the future, and I also gave a free lottery. Syaruo didn't think about it first, but jumped out of the window secretly, and then went back to the door of her own house and opened the door. I haven't been back for a long time. Syaruo is still a little excited to go home. Pushing open the door, Syaruo saw her younger sister Xiaomeng watching TV, as usual, as if nothing had changed. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Xiaomeng glanced at the brother who opened the door, with a look of surprise on her face, as if she didn't expect him to come back. I'm back, Syaruo waved to her sister as if she was going home as usual. You still know to come back. Xiaomeng looked at Syaruo with a very complicated expression. Dad said that you went out to work in a restaurant in the southern provinces and cities to learn cooking skills. He also said that the restaurant took your mobile phone. I really didn't expect that, brother. You really love cooking so much. In order to learn cooking skills, He actually ran to another province. Ahem, Syaruo coughed twice, I can't help it. In order to improve my cooking skills, it doesn't matter if I pay a little more. Learning to cook and bringing a cat with you. Xiaomeng obviously had doubts about her brother's whereabouts. She felt that her brother and father might be hiding something from her. Tom on Xiaoruo's body jumped off and onto Xiaomeng's body. After coming back this time, do you want to go next time? Looking at her brother, Xiaomeng asked another question. Maybe I still have to go, because I still have a lot to learn. By the way, I have improved my cooking skills recently. I will cook dinner today, Xiaoruo began to change the subject. Okay. Hearing this, thinking of her brother's cooking skills, Xiaomeng immediately began to salivate. It seemed that she had really been diverted from the topic, but in Xiaomeng's view, since her brother didn't want to talk, there was no point in asking her any further. Anyway, when she wanted to tell, she would tell herself. Although it's been a month since I left, nothing seems to have changed. Then the family came back. Xiaoruo made a good dinner, and shared with everyone the local products of the southern provinces and cities he brought, special medicinal herbs for medicinal baths, which are medicinal herbs in the fantasy world, specially for gods. Ordinary people soaked them not only beauty but also longevity. At that time, my father couldn't close his mouth smiling after taking it, so he tried it immediately, and then my mother and Xiaomeng also tried it one by one. It is said that the effect is super good. After soaking, people seem to be going to heaven. The whole body is full of energy, the exhaustion on the body has completely disappeared, the person is much younger, and even the skin is much whiter, which is better than ordinary cosmetics. Xiaoruo felt that it was a bit exaggerated. He didn't feel this way at the time, but it may be because he was in good health, so the effect was not obvious, and at that time he soaked it every day, so he didn't feel it anymore. Hearing what her mother and Xiaomeng said, Xiaoruo looked in the mirror with some doubts, and found that she was indeed a lot paler, but she didn't pay attention to it, and didn't notice it. Well, he's handsome again. As the sky darkened, Xiaoruo returned to her room. He summed up what happened after he left. The main thing is that Inuyasha is also over. Almost all the serialized animations are now over, and it has been over for a long time. Many viewers are looking forward to the new work. At the end of Inuyasha, the ending was actually a bit too fast, especially the part where the popular character Kikyo died, which tricked many viewers into tears, and even private messages were full of people wanting to send razor blades. After reading the private message for a while, Xiaoruo closed the private message after blocking a few accounts. New animations are missing now, and neither is the new world. At this time, Xiaoruo thought of the free lottery that the system rewarded just now. Use it if you can. Xiaoruo chose the animation lottery draw, and I don't know what new animation world will appear. Lottery. Swish. He entered the boundless darkness again, which was Xiaoruo's own consciousness space, and countless familiar light spots were shining around him. Spin, spin. In the end, a small glowing spot of light fell in front of Xiaoruo. This time, the small spot of light was not as big as Spirited Away, but it was considered a relatively bright world. What is the new world? Xiaoruo looked forward to the new world every time. It would be even better if he had seen it before. Xiaoruo reached out and touched it, and touched a new world. The extraction is successful, and the new animation Demon Slayer, Blade is obtained. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 145. Blade of Ghost Slayer. Looking at the system prompt in her mind, Xiaoruo recalled the introduction of Ghost Slayer, Blade. Demon Slayer, Blade was the most popular hot-blooded comic in the past 19 years. In the period when most of the old hot-blooded animations ended, Demon Slayer, Blade was equivalent to carrying the banner of the hot-blooded animation of that period, and the production was very sophisticated. Many audiences in the previous life fell into the pit because of its excellent combat production. The plot inside is not very complicated. The battle between the man-eating ghosts and the ghost-killing team that specializes in hunting ghosts does not have too much grievance or hatred. You can eat people and I will kill you. Moreover, the author of Demon Slayer, Blade is very good at portraying characters. The characters in it will be impressive, and the combat system is also very interesting. The swordsman who uses the breathing method fights with the immortal ghost. To be honest, when Xiaoruo watched it before, she felt that the breathing method of the swordsman was very similar to the internal energy system in martial arts. Xiaoruo has seen this animation and manga, especially the manga plot. In the later period, he is fighting all the time. The difference in strength between humans and ghosts is a bit big. Many popular characters will die as soon as they say it. The most powerful combat power column in it, in the end it was almost dead. Xiaoruo is also very interested in this world, because the breathing method and swordsmanship in it can improve her melee combat ability. Xiaoruo, who has the power of reality, is actually very vague in combat power. He is a bit like Kamijutuma, the male protagonist in the Forbidden World. He is very restrained against some surreal magical attacks, such as Granny Tang's magic. However, in Xiaoruo's view, if you face someone with particularly strong physical skills, such as someone whose combat skills are superior to his, you may only be beaten passively, so it is very necessary to improve your melee ability. It looks like the Ghost Slayer Blade is a good target. It's just that Xiaoruo got a little over the top after a bloody battle. Xiaoruo looked at his reputation. At this time he still has more than 5,000 reputation, because the serialized animations are over, so the reputation income is slowly slowing down, and he spent a lot of reputation in the soup house to learn magic, so Xiaoruo only saved more than 5,000 prestige in a month. Draw it again. The lottery draw is addictive, especially if you get the kind of animation you have seen in your previous life. It is an addictive feeling. I just went whoring once for nothing, and now Xiaoruo can't help but want to smoke again. What if the world of gods is pulled out in the next wave? If you want to upgrade to LV4, you need 20,000 reputation points. With the current growth rate of reputation, you don't update new fan animations. It takes 4 months to collect the prestige required for the upgrade. Since it takes such a long time to save, it is better to invest in a wave, in case you get an animation that is very suitable for Djinn. Anyway, I went whoring twice for nothing, and the system is so conscientious that it will not give thanks for your patronage. Even if you are a bit unlucky, it will give you a guaranteed world, and you will not lose much. Thinking about it, I did it, and Xiaoruo immediately started the lottery draw. Lottery. Swish. He entered his consciousness space again, and countless familiar light spots were shining around him. After smoking a few times and getting familiar with it, Xiaoruo turned her attention to the surrounding light spots. This time, another luminous spot of light fell in front of Xiaoruo, but this time, the spot of light was a little brighter, with a faint golden light, almost as bright as Spirited Away. Well, are you so lucky? Seeing the golden spot of light staying in front of her eyes, Xiaoruo reached out and grabbed it. Ding! Soon, the system gave a prompt. But looking at the animation that appeared in his mind, Xiaoruo was stunned for a second. He had seen that animation and it was very classic, but he never thought that he would draw this animation because it was a bit too old. Ding! If the draw is successful, you will get the new animation Book of Heaven. Reminder, Tian Shu Qi Tan Danger Level, High. It was actually the Book of Heaven, and Xiaoruo was a little surprised to get this animation, because this can be said to be a very classic animation movie. It is not an exaggeration to say that it was the pinnacle of Chinese animation at that time. Moreover, it was a traditional Chinese fairy world. There are gods and secret treasures in that world. There are heavenly courts, heavenly emperors, elixir, heavenly books, and maybe there are ways to become immortals. It can be said that it is a world with unlimited potential. By the way, there are also fox demons. Is the level of danger high? Syoruo calmed down a little after seeing the system's prompt. This is the first time the system has reminded herself of the world's danger information, which shows that the world is really dangerous. The previous Inuyasha, and the Demon Slayer, Blade just now, the system did not give a prompt. In the past, the system gave Tom and Jerry a low rating. The feeling system's rating of the degree of danger in the world is calculated according to the degree of danger of going to that world. According to my current situation, it is estimated that even a vixen can't beat a vixen in that world. After all, it is China's fairy world, and the gods in it are different from the Japanese gods. When Yuan Gong appeared at that time, he destroyed a mountain with a Taoist method to suppress the fox demon. Out of prudent consideration, Syoruo temporarily gave up the idea of going to the world of Book of Heaven. His current strength is too weak, so he should hone it in other worlds first. Go to Havoc in Heaven once. Steal elixir and eat flat peaches. In an instant, Syoruo set a small goal for herself, to cultivate to the level of being able to fight against immortals and gods. That requires a lot of reputation, though. I have to work hard. Prestige, prestige, prestige. Syoruo turned on the computer first, and then uploaded Ghost Slayer, Blade. It has been a long time since there is a new animation. Let Ghost Slayer, Blade continue. When the time comes, it can also become popular like in the previous life, and then I can make animation and fanfare again. Then Syoruo watched her fan animation in the Soup House world again. The number of episodes of Doujin animation is generally very small, relatively refined. The system only intercepts important plots, or plots that involve plot characters, so Syoruo watched it. The 2-month plot. There are only 7 episodes in Doujin animation, just over 2 hours, just the length of a theatrical version. This time, Aki Yamamiya was added to the animation plot of Soup House as the content of World Fusion, which is equivalent to a breaking point. It is completely different from the previous Doujin animation. It is equivalent to establishing a worldview of Fusion World. I believe it will have an impact on the audience. The power will be great, and the prestige will probably come rolling in by then. Soon, Syoruo released the fan animation Soup House at the same time, and uploaded 2 episodes. The prestige income obtained by the previous Doujin animations is getting less and less, and new animations are needed to attract income. After the upload was successful, Syoruo went to make a cup of tea. After the tea was brewed, Syoruo found that the Soup House animation had both clicks and bullet screens. So Syoruo also clicked on the Soup House animation. As soon as the opening opened, there was an overwhelming barrage of things like first, second, and powder looming, and Syoruo marked the tag Doujin in the introduction, so for this tag, the reaction of the barrage it seems very intense. Wow, wow, I didn't expect there to be a new animation, and there are still 2 consecutive releases. The introduction is a Doujin animation. It is an old tradition to rise up. If the animation becomes popular, you will be a Doujin. Official colleagues, Willful. I beg you to update the 2nd season of PNIGen, please save the Platycodon, the goddess died so badly. I just want to ask how much it costs to add a character to the fan animation. I will pay for it and take me through time travel. Can the time travel location be bought with money? It's nice to be rich, poor eyes. If you can buy it, leave one for me, and I'll pay for it too. I'm going to see the goddess Kikyo, and then confess my love to the goddess. I, suddenly, have a bold idea. Please put away your bold ideas. Syoruo looked at the screen full of barrage, smiled without saying a word, gently picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. After putting down the cup, raised her hand and sent a barrage. Want to cross, want to fart. In the opening scene of the animation, Syoruo is sitting on Tom's broom and flying. It seems that a lot of unnecessary procrastination has been omitted, and it directly entered the theme. Flying directly on the broom is actually a bit inexplicable, but some viewers have guessed that this may be a new animation world, and it may be the animation that was broadcast before, because the character Syoruo will travel through the animation. Soon, Syoruo followed Tom and flew into Granny Tang's room on a broomstick. The outsider who broke in suddenly and Granny Tang's shocked eyes, time seemed to freeze at this moment. Looking at this scene, the barrage broke out again. Amazing. It is actually the world of Spirited Away. I like this animated movie so much that I watched it several times in a row. Hey, if there is an animation, there will be a Djinn, even the animation movie. I should have thought about it a long time ago. Now there is no fan animation except for Light Sound Girl, and there are other animation fans. Even Tom and Jerry has cat fans. Did you not read the title? The names are all called Soup House, so it must be a fan of Spirited Away. That's right, only Light Music Girl doesn't have a fan animation, but Syoruo's fan animation of Light Music Girl has gone. I can't imagine it. Seeing these bullet screens, Syoruo remembered that King Ian's Hwagyo travel chapter had not been uploaded by herself, mainly because there were some problems with some of the above content, and Syoruo was going to save it for the concert before posting it. However, it seemed that he was distracted by that barrage, and the barrage behind him also slowly changed the direction of the wind, with an inexplicable rhythm. If you rise up to be a fan of Light Music Girl, it is estimated that the girls in it may be poisoned by Syoruo, and I will send the blade at that time. Whoa, it's so real. I'm desperate for this real world. It can't really be this scary. 666666. There is nothing impossible. Anyway, fan animations are YY, you can do whatever you want. I didn't see that someone wanted to hum Tom, so I went directly to the second dimension, and it's nothing to go to the second dimension to find a wife. The worldview collapsed, and I felt like I was being hated. Syoruo found that the topic was inexplicably misleading. Why did she suddenly discuss the issue of girl with light voice in the barrage? But fortunately, there were still some barrages discussing the plot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 146. Seeing this, Syoruo went to rest, because there were fewer bullet screens in the back, so it didn't look interesting. After staying with the family for a few days, the fan animation of Soup House was almost finished uploading, and Syoruo continued to watch it. The plot developed to the point where Syoruo showed her cooking skills to Granny Tang, and then used the luminous dishes to win the cooperation contract. In this plot, the shock of luminous cooking to Granny Tang became a point that the audience talked about. Because of Syoruo's post on the Little Master of China before, although there are only 2 episodes, which are the 2 episodes where Syoruo and Shaoan fight, they also know that Syoruo has the cooking skills to make luminous dishes. It seems that there is a connection between the timelines of the fan animations, and the plot time of this fan is after Syoruo traveled through Xiaodangjia. Although there is Tom, the audience knows that there is a connection between Djinn animations, but it is still very interesting to see the situation with a different worldview. Seeing the glowing dishes and Granny Tang's shock, the barrage became very interesting. Flash bomb, I added a flash bomb. It's radiation cooking, dear. It's special effects, I added special effects, doin'. After signing the contract, in the animation plot, Syoruo starts to work and cook in the soup house, and then enjoys learning magic every day, and adds to the entertainment of the guests. The plot of this section is actually fast-forwarded, but the audience is very happy to watch. While scolding Syoruo for his mindless enjoyment, he also played tricks, giving Syoruo the nickname of the #1 male publicist in Soup House. During the period, the stalks continued, but there were also some bullet screens asking why Baelong was not there, when Chihiro would come, and so on. After all, when the audience comes to watch the anime-doujin, the main focus is still on the characters in the animation. If only Syoruo performed alone, the audience who come to see the doujin for the anime characters will be disappointed. Soon, the plot came to the point where Syoruo killed the masked man who broke into the soup house, and gained the approval of everyone in the soup house. The animation plot of this section was written in detail, and then the time started to fast forward again, fast forwarding to the arrival of Baelong. Chihiro's moment. It wasn't until the point of view shifted to Akiyama Mio's point of view that the world of this fan animation was linked, and the whole story entered the theme. Seeing that Mio Akiyama picked up the phone to go to Grandma's house, the barrage exploded again, and it was so obvious that they couldn't guess what happened next. The subsequent plot must be that Akiyama Mio encountered the same experience as Chihiro, and then entered the soup house. It's just that no one thought of this plot at the beginning. No one of them thought that the protagonist of the Spirited Away fanfic is not Chihiro, but Mio Akiyama. This is too good at playing. The world of Qingyin Girl and Spirited Away are actually the same worldview. This fellow is actually so explosive. Logically, there is no problem. The place where Chihiro is located is also a modern city, which means that the normal world should be the same, but I still feel something is wrong. It's over, it's going to be crazy to rise up, it's not good to be an official fan, but also to have a world linkage. Is he going to create his own animation universe? It's crazy. I feel that this doujin animation has suddenly become interesting. The official doujin is really capricious. It can write any plot, which is really cool. Since the worldview of Spirited Away is the same as Spirited Away, then there is no problem with the worldview of Inuyasha anyway. There are modern plots. When the time comes, Mio Akiyama goes to the shrine to ask for a lottery, and finds that there is a food behind the shrine well of bones, and then jumped in and traveled directly to the Warring States period. Good idea. This fellow is too good at playing. For a doujin animation, the audience has a high tolerance. Anyway, it's all doujin, so there's no need to get entangled in the plot, because it's a different world line, and it can't even affect the original work. What's the use of tangling the plot? But when they saw Akiyama Mio, they were still shocked, and even looked forward to the following plot. Akiyama Mio is actually very popular. Because of the cute character, her fans are exaggerated. Her fans also want to see what they like. The character has a wonderful experience. It's just that those fans of Mio Akiyama didn't know what kind of hell awaited them afterwards. The plot continues. Afterwards, Ritsu's fortune-telling, omens, mirror cracking and a series of coquettish operations, and then, as expected by all audiences, Akiyama Mio's father brought Akiyama Mio to the soup house world. Like Chihiro, Akiyama Mio's parents turned into pigs, and then Akiyama Mio fell into despair and was about to disappear. All of this can be guessed by the audience. The above plots are easy to guess, because they have all seen the original, but the protagonist has changed. Even in the eyes of many people, Rise is planning to do 2 fan animations at once this time, using Soup House to make the fan animations of Light Music Girl and Spirited Away in one go. The audience guessed that the subsequent plot is probably that Syoruo found Akiyama Mio, and then went through the story of Hakuryu, and finally rescued Akiyama Mio and her parents. It is equivalent to the fusion of 2 animations, which is quite interesting. However, at the next moment, a sudden plot broke the expectations of all audiences. It was a plot that no one expected. When Mio Akiyama was in despair, he took out his mobile phone to send text messages to familiar people, group sending, one by one. No matter how he sent, the sending failed. However, among the contacts on Mio Akiyama's mobile phone, some viewers noticed that there was Syoruo's name. Why does Syoruo appear in Akiyama Mio's phone contacts? As soon as the name Syoruo appeared, the barrage began to become weird. No way. No way. No way. In this scene, the bullet screens are neat and uniform, and the screen is full of 3 words, no way. The audience is really stupid. Akiyama Mio's mobile phone has Syaruo's contact information, which means that Syaruo and Akiyama Mio know each other, that is to say, Syaruo has communicated with Kingian Girl in a certain unpublished fan animation, and the relationship is not normal, whether this animation has not been released, or it is paving the way for future animations. This means that Qingyan Girl has its own fan. The goddess was indeed overwhelmed by a pig. Suddenly, such a barrage flew over, and suddenly, the barrage became lively. Most of them were heartbroken barrages, and there were many who criticized Syaruo. The plot is still going on. Mio Akiyama failed to send messages to everyone, but Syaruo received a text message from Mio Akiyama, and the two talked on the phone. No matter how desperate Mio Akiyama was, Syaruo was comforting her, even letting she closed her eyes and counted down. Akiyama Mio also believed it. After the countdown ended, Syaruo really appeared. Like a miracle, Akiyama Mio's inner description at that time appeared in the fan animation, and all the audience saw it. I also felt that after the goddess was saved, a part of my heart seemed to be captured. When Akiyama Mio was in the most danger, Syaruo appeared to save her. Just behind that shop, Mio Akiyama was weak and helpless. Her teary-eyed and pitiful appearance was extremely pitiful, and Syaruo's gentle tone and comforting words brought hope to Mio Akiyama. Syaruo at this moment is like a hero. Akiyama Mio and Syaruo's eyes met, and Syaruo's tone was gentle at this time. Believe me. Cooperating with the warm BGM added by the system at this time, at this moment, there seems to be such a trace of warmth and ambiguity. Puff. It looked like someone had sprayed blood on the computer screen. I'm going to send the blade. You really know how to work, Syaruo. I remember you, I have remembered you for a lifetime. Syaruo actually entr our goddess in front of so many of us. Kill you. Syaruo. It is said that Syaruo is a real person. Do you want to team up with me to deliver a courier to his house? Add me one. Add me one. Syaruo looked at the barrage's reaction, but there was still no fluctuation. At this time, his attention was no longer on the barrage at all, but on his soaring reputation. In such a short few days, his reputation increased by more than 3,000. It used to take at least 10 days to achieve it. So much, and that's a collection of multiple doujinshi. It's rising so fast. Syaruo took a sip of tea. Doujin animation is quite successful. Sure enough, if you want a fan animation to be successful, you still need an exciting plot, and you have to let others remember you. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 147. In the middle is the plot of Syaruo rescuing Akiyama Mio, and there are not too many twists and turns. When Akiyama Mio was threatened by Granny Tang to tell her about her relationship with Syaruo, many viewers felt sorry for her. But more viewers are curious. Like Granny Tang, they also hope to learn about Syaruo and some information about Qingyan colleagues through Akiyama Mio. Some viewers felt that there might be some big secret in the Qingyan fanfare that was not broadcast, and maybe they could learn a thing or two from Mio Akiyama. But Akiyama Mio didn't say anything in the end, which disappointed the audience, and many people felt that they had guessed wrong, and then Syaruo appeared on the stage and solved Granny Tang. The solution is also simple and rude, but the audience seems to find that Syaruo is much stronger than before. When Syaruo saw off behind the tunnel, the content of the conversation between the two attracted the attention of the audience again, because when Syaruo and Akiyama Mio talked, they talked about the agreement about the concert. Hearing this news, the audience immediately became energetic. In the plot, Akiyama Mio seems to care why Syaruo doesn't go back. Syaruo replied, I'm fine, I guess I'll be home in a few days, and I haven't forgotten our agreement. When the time comes, I'll go back and find you to hold a concert in China. Ah, you still remember this? Mio Akiyama blushed slightly. Of course I remember. I will never forget this agreement. By the way, I haven't asked you yet. When do you have time? If you have time, you can come anytime. Time, about 2 months later, we will be on vacation in 2 months, I guess everyone has time, then you can call me at that time. Everyone had a great time in Hwagyo last time, received Syaruo-jun took care of me a lot. At this point in the plot, the barrage on the screen suddenly became dense, because the amount of information contained in the conversation just now was too large. It was a simple ordinary conversation, but there were many key information hidden in it. Ah, the King Ian girls have actually been to Hwagyo. Is this the plot of the fan animation of Ching Yin? I really want to see it. I really want to watch it too. Although I know it's Syaruo that guy's reception is very unpleasant, I still want to watch it. Wait a minute, did no one notice the agreement they said? The concert will be held in Hwagyo. Maybe there will be a plot of the concert in the fan animation. It's awesome. You all see it too superficially. You must know that Ching Yin Girl is an animation adapted from real people's deeds. Perhaps Rise is sending a message through this fan animation, that is, the prototype character of Ching Yin Girl will really come to China to sing meeting. No, it's just animation, it's not that exaggerated. It's really that exaggerated. You have forgotten that at that time, I remember that the official private trumpet of Rise released a short video of King Ian Girl in My Home, which is a real animation prototype character, super realistic, and the performance scene is the same as in the animation. Ah, no way, do you really want to come to China to play? It feels a little unreal, the two-dimensional characters appear in reality or something. Looking at the barrage above, Syaruo almost forgot about it. At that time, because Akiyama Mio injured her foot, when they were playing games at home, they did shoot some short videos and uploaded them on the internet. I didn't expect the audience to remember them so clearly. By the way, Syaruo remembered that when she took Akiyama Mio and the others to play, some Black History photos she took seemed to be still in her mobile phone, and she hadn't uploaded them. At this time, the animation has ended, and the following plot is Syaruo and Akiyama Mio's separation, and then the plot of Akiyama Mio's return home. When Akiyama Mio returns to school, and then talks about this experience with the light music department, the animation it's over. The entire fan animation lasted more than an hour, not long at all, but it brought Syaruo a huge reputation. It seems that this Dojin animation really received a good response. When Syaruo went to the comment area to watch it, he found that there were not many discussions about the plot of this Dojin animation in the comment area. Most of them were discussing the agreement between Syaruo and Akiyama Mio at that time. That's what the concert is about. Syaruo also guessed this point before, because Light Music Girl has already been broadcast on the TV station, and the ratings are extremely high, and its popularity is so terrifying that it explodes. It's more than several times, even the popular Spirited Away can't compare. Among them, the most discussed comment at the top of the comment area is: rational analysis, will Light Music Girl really come to a real concert, whether the second dimension and reality can be merged? The person who wrote this comment believed that the King Ian Girl would definitely come to China to hold a concert, and cited many examples for this. First of all, I firmly believe that the concert will be held in China, and it is even very likely that it is what Akiyama Mio said in the animation. After 2 months, I will give the reason below. First of all, the official private account posted a short video of Light Tone Girl in My Home, the link is posted here, you can go and watch it. In the video, there is indeed a character prototype of a King Ian Girl, and the 5 little angels are all there, which shows that if Rise wants to hold a King Ian concert, it is definitely achievable. Secondly, all the animations of Rise have Dojin, but only King Ian does not, but through the Soup House animation, it can be seen that Mio Akiyama and Natsuru know each other, which shows that there are no Dojin animations. It's just not posted. I suspect that the production of King Ian fans may be different from other fans, and there are some differences. So I boldly speculate that the difference between King Ian Dojin and other animations is that Rise intends to use Dojin animation to link reality with the second dimension. The animation of King Ian is an adaptation of real people, so it is easy to do. Up to this point, an animated character performing a concert in reality is absolutely different from sitting in front of a computer screen watching an animated concert. Even, in fact, King Ian Girl has been to Hwaguo before, and now Rise is making a fan animation of King Ian Girl Hwaguo chapter, which is to animate what happened in reality. Third, this is also the most important point. The ending of Soup House has been hinted very clearly, haven't you noticed? Aki Yamamio said at the end that she had been to Hwaguo with King Ian's people before, and it was Syaruo who received them at that time, so that's the point. The previous fan animations were Syaruo's time travel to the animation world created by Rise, but does anyone know where Syaruo's main world is? Let me tell you, the main world he is in is the world we are in. Who is Syaruo? A time traveler who travels through the world? Animated hero? No, he is the son of the boss of Rising Animation, and all the animations he travels through are made by his father. His home is now in Tianbei City, and the previous video of Light Sound Girl at my house is already very telling. Yes, he took a video of King Ian Girl in his home. The Dojin animation this time is no longer just Dojin animation. Rise is trying a new model. It wants to integrate reality and animation, create animated characters that can appear in reality, and let animated characters come to reality. Create an effect of breaking the dimensional wall. What Aki Yamamio said about coming to China to hold a concert means coming to Syaruo's house, that's coming to Tianbei City. Everyone can click on the favorites, and watch it in 2 months. Will Tianbei City have a concert of King Ian Girls? Syaruo looked at this long comment and nodded slightly. This person's analysis was not bad, but Syaruo found that there was an expansion below the comment, and the comment was not finished yet. Fourth, the fourth point has nothing to do with King Ian Girls, it's just my guess, but before I say the fourth point, I hope everyone can recognize the fact that in the setting of Rising Dojin, Syaruo, a male, the main world where the protagonist lives is the world we live in. This is very important and must be kept in mind. Okay, let me continue. The fourth point is the meaning of Rising to make fan animations. I suspect that King Ian is just an attempt, and Rising is making a huge layout. Although the Rising Dojin animation is said to be Dojin, the sophistication of the production is no less than that of the original. If it is just for my son to play, it is too scary. Moreover, if it is a Dojin animation, the popularity does not have to be much worse than the original work. Even with more and more Dojin animations, it can even become a terrifying series. Last night, I finished watching all the Rising fan animations. I noticed that although they are fans of different animations, all fan animations are connected, and the connection is the hero Syaruo. Syaruo can travel to it is his ability to travel through various animation worlds with the characters in the animation. We don't care if this kind of setting is a fan animation, but since Syaruo is in the same world as us, it is very interesting. Here comes the point. He can bring King Ian Girl to our world today, then tomorrow, can he bring Kikyo here, and the day after tomorrow, can he bring Chihiro here? In this way, just make a Dojin animation, and then the content of the animation is that Syaruo brought the animation character to our world, and if you rise up, you can instantly create an animation internet celebrity. Just look at the popularity of online cosplay. The key point is that Rise is no longer cosplaying, but a real animated character. And in the case of fan animations, there is no sense of disobedience. It's like Syaruo, the protagonist, forcibly broke through the dimensional wall and brought our favorite characters into our world. I can only say that with the production level of fan animation, if Syaruo brings Kikyo to the real world, as long as her cosplay is not too inconsistent and not too far from the original, I can accept it unexpectedly. After all, animation characters come to reality, which is also the setting of animation. When I thought about this at the time, I was also shocked by the idea of the Rising boss. Playing animation like this, the Rising is really amazing. Using fan animation to bring the animated characters into reality, and starting the layout step by step, bold and innovative, just the idea of this attempt, it can be said that the rise of this company is legendary enough. Looking at this comment, Syoruo fell into deep thought. The person who wrote this comment must have too much brains, and it seems to be very reasonable. Obviously just want to do fan animation to gain reputation, but there is such a powerful layout in it. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 148. When the long comment was issued, many people replied yes. It's so reasonable, I like it, the quality of this comment is too high, I said why every animation has a fan, it turned out to be the reason. Kneeling to the boss, I really didn't expect the purpose of the Djinn animation to be this, but to be honest, I will definitely go to the concert of King Ian Girls, and if Kikyo opens Weibo, I will follow it as soon as possible. It feels a little weird, I thought I couldn't accept it, but I thought about it, and I was a little excited when I thought that the goddess Kikyo would be brought to our world. Even if it is a cosplay, I also recognize it. I just want to meet the goddess. It's really amazing, this brain hole is absolutely amazing. The last time the Light Tone Girl advertised, I felt that it was not good. Wouldn't you really want to bring the people in the animation to advertise, and let Tom sell cat food? I hope the cosplay of the goddess Kikyo is more beautiful, don't look for an ant, but it's hard to find a cosplay with the same temperament as the goddess. Don't say anything else, just wait for the concert, as long as the concert is real, I will believe you. Waiting to add one, it has been collected. It seems that many people really believe it. For this person's long comment, Syoruo has nothing to say, she can't stop others from making up their minds, the key is, what he said is quite reasonable. Legendary Rising Company. Come to reality with animated characters. It feels very interesting. Today's rising animation company is already a well-known large animation company outside, and it is even more and more mysterious in the eyes of outsiders. Rise has many employees, but Syoruo got Granny Tang's magic notes in the world of Spirited Away before, and there are many powerful magics in it. Syoruo spent 3,000 reputation points to learn a magic that can modify the memory of ordinary people. It is the magic to modify the memories of Akiyama Mayo's parents who have become normal people at the end of the Djinn animation. This magic is very strong. Although it can only be used by ordinary people, it is still a very useful magic. Syoruo used this magic to use it on the rising employees, and modified the employees' memories to ensure that there will be no problems inside the rising. Since there are no internal problems, Syoruo can actually play whatever she wants. Syoruo suddenly thanked the long comment, because the comment sent by this user gave him a reason to deal with the animation characters. Since he said that fan animation is a layout, it will be a layout from now on. Syoruo opened her Mengzhan account, and found that the private account of King Ian Girl in my home was posted before, probably because of the previous colleagues and long comments, and now the number of fans is increasing. Now the number of fans has increased to more than 100,000. Seeing that there are so many fans, Syoruo thought about it, changed the name of this account to Syoruo, and changed the avatar to her own two-dimensional avatar. In the future, this account will be used as your own animation character account. Correct. Looking at this account, Syoruo suddenly remembered that he had taken a lot of videos and photos on his mobile phone. When he was traveling, he liked to take pictures with his mobile phone as souvenirs, whether it was Qingyan or Inuyasha, and even in the soup house with the gods there are group photos. So Syoruo took out her mobile phone to search, and soon found a lot of photos and videos she took, including photos with Chun, and videos of Kingian girls playing in Tianbei at that time, and videos of girls playing at that time. Xiaoruo took a lot of pictures, but only a little bit of them playing games at home was posted. Xiaoruo chose for a long time, and then found a photo of herself and Tsubaki when they were camping. The photo was very characteristic. By the campfire, Tsubaki was only photographed with a side face, but the side face was a little rosy under the light of the campfire. Attractive, Tsubaki wearing a priestess costume has a unique mysterious atmosphere in the night. Among them, Xiaoruo's face was not photographed. I don't know if posting this kind of thing will increase my reputation. Xiaoruo didn't notice it when I posted the video last time. Xiaoruo wanted to test whether her reputation would be included in the account, so she typed a paragraph in her profile. At that time, I took a sneak shot of Ms. Chun. After typing, Xiaoruo posted the photo. Looking at this account with the name and profile picture of Xiaoruo posting a photo of Chun secretly, I always feel that the animation and reality are somewhat intertwined, and the dimensional wall seems to have really cracked. It's like I used to see some animation characters posting dynamics, but the pictures I saw were P, but this one is real. Soon, there were comments under the dynamics of that photo. In the front row, this account actually belongs to Xiaoruo. It's the first time I've commented on an animation character, so I'm a little nervous. Damn it, the big guy from before actually guessed it right. Rise is really going to be an internet celebrity with an animation character. It's really awesome. I hope to find a cozer with a better appearance, so I don't overturn my car. Xiaoruo, which world will you travel to next time? Is it the new animation? Brother Xiaoruo, please take me through time travel, please leave me a parking space, I want to get in the car too, I also want to time travel, I can warm your bed, I am 18 years old, 159, 48. The men can warm their beds, so I can too. The bed warmer is in line. I'm also a man, 189, 67. Wow, it's actually a photo of Ms. Chun. Who is this cosplayer? Although it's just a profile, it's too similar. Wow. The temperament is similar to the one in the animation. Looking at this photo, I suddenly became optimistic about animation and live-action internet celebrities. If they all have this kind of temperament, then I hope there will be more. Miss Chun is so pretty, I want to see the goddess Kikyo, the rise will not disappoint me, please post a photo of the goddess. The amount of comments and retweets in this dynamic skyrocketed. Xiaoruo took a look at her reputation gauge. After posting this post, her reputation seemed to have risen faster than before, but it didn't seem to have increased much, far from being like a human animation, but it was indeed there. Income. Can posting dynamics as an animation character increase your reputation? Sure enough, the condition for gaining prestige is to increase the popularity and influence of Xiaoruo's role. Strike while the iron is hot, Xiaoruo found a dark historical video of the Kingian girls dancing square dance, edited it and posted it. At the same time, Xiaoruo added a paragraph, anecdotes about people from the Kingian department when they came to China to play, square dance chapter. I posted Kingian girls at my house before, and this time square dance chapter can be regarded as a connection, but this square dance chapter is very interesting, because it was Xiaoruo who encouraged them to dance, so the girls dancing square dance with the ants, the culprit is Xiaoruo. When the video played to that point, the word devil floated on the barrage. Overall, though, the barrage is still fun. Because the way the girls dance is also very interesting. Xiaoruo didn't post after that, but the next day, when Xiaoruo watched it again, that Xiaoruo's account had more than 500,000 fans, an increase of 400,000 in one day. It was only later that I found out that it seemed that screenshots were circulated in the chat group, causing the account to become popular. It took only one day, and it is estimated that it will not take long before the number of fans will exceed 1 million. Not only that, but in terms of prestige, Syoruo actually increased her prestige by 1,000 in one night. It's great that you can earn reputation by posting posts, but Syoruo is not the kind who likes to post posts very much, so he just posted a few new ones today, and if there is nothing wrong in the future, he doesn't plan to post them. However, Syoruo thought about it, and then posted another post, with a picture of Akiyama Mio holding a bass, and then a picture of the Kingian 5 holding musical instruments, both animated pictures and real-life pictures. Looking forward to the concert of Kingian Girl, there are still 2 months. After posting this post, Syoruo explained to the audience that the concert will definitely come. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 149. After dealing with the real things, Syoruo is ready to travel to the next world. Syoruo has read the finished manga of Ghost Slayer, Blade, so she knows the plot direction in it. In that world, ghosts eat people and people kill ghosts. The villain is the Ghost King, Giwatsuji, who can use his own blood to transform ordinary people into ghosts, just like vampires. Ghosts live by eating people, have strong recovery ability, and are immortal. The weakness is that they are afraid of sunlight and Rylun knife beheaded. The more powerful the ghosts, the stronger their recovery ability, and they can even perform strange abilities such as blood ghosts, while the members of the ghost-killing team use human bodies, as well as breathing and sword skills to fight ghosts. There are no particularly complicated inside stories or entanglements. Syoruo's purpose is to go to that world to learn good breathing and swordsmanship, improve her actual combat ability, and create a fancier by the way to increase her reputation. As for the preparations in advance, there is nothing to prepare for. This time it is not a systematic plot mission. You can return to reality, and just come back and get what is missing. The weapons are also in the private space, a sword I picked up before, and a wooden knife. For Syoruo, the wooden knife has the same effect as an ordinary knife, and it is the same when it is cut, and it is deceptive. As for the issue of combat power, Syoruo felt that relying on her own strength, self-protection was always enough in Ghost Slayer. Even if she encountered a ghost she couldn't beat, it would be fine to fly to the sky. After getting ready, Syoruo took Tom on a journey through time. Tom, let's go. Meow. The familiar white vortex appeared, and the next moment, Syoruo disappeared into her room. After the vortex disappeared, the picture in front of him changed. A blue butterfly flew in front of Syoruo's eyes. It seemed that he also smelled a special fragrance. The fresh air, the blue sky, and a green lawn under the feet, and many flowers blooming around, the fragrance just now seems to be the fragrance of flowers. Is it daytime? Syoruo raised her head and looked at the big sun hanging high in the sky. Since it was daytime, there would be no ghosts haunting it. The ghosts in Ghost Slayer Blade would be wiped out by the sunlight. Without the threat of ghosts, Syoruo immediately began to look around her, trying to determine her current location, but there was no trace of human habitation around. It seemed that the system sent herself to the wild this time. The location where I am seems to be surrounded by a dense forest. This time, the location I crossed seems to be in the middle of a forest. It's meaningless to stay here. The first goal now is to find a place with people to confirm the location. By the way, let me ask about the timeline. No matter what world you go to, the first thing to do is to collect information. Syoruo walked into the woods. As long as he left the woods, he should be able to see traces of people. But before he took a few steps, he stopped again and looked back at the direction he came from just now. At this time, Syoruo looked a little puzzled. Wait a minute, when I first arrived in this world, I seemed to smell a special fragrance, and, the blue butterfly, is it implying something? For some reason, when Syaruo saw the cyan butterfly, something very important in Ghost Slayer, Blade suddenly popped up in Syaruo's mind, and there were indeed some flowers where she appeared just now. Syaruo immediately turned around, returned to the place where she had just come, searched carefully, and then, in a pile of flowers, Syaruo saw some blue flowers mixed in the flowers. Flowers are like dragon claws, terminal umbels. It is obviously a very conspicuous flower, but if you don't pay attention, it is easy to ignore it. Syaruo ignored it from the beginning. The blue other shore flower. There was some surprise on Syaruo's face. The cyan Bianhua, the most mysterious prop in the entire story of Ghost Slayer, the cyan Bianhua is just an ordinary flower to ordinary people, but it is a supreme treasure to ghosts. It can make ghosts who are afraid of the sun not afraid of the sun, and normal people live in the sun as well. For some ghosts who have overcome the weakness of beheading, having this blue bana flower is equivalent to immortality. If the goal of the Demon Slayer squad is to kill a Nimue Tsuji, then a Nimue Tsuji's goal is to find the blue Higan flower. For this flower, Giwu Tsuji Wumi increased the number of ghosts crazily, and sent people to search for thousands of years but failed to find it, which shows its rarity. No one found this kind of flower until the end. It only existed in the legend, but the answer was given at the end of the chapter. The blue bana flower can only grow during the day, and only a few days in a year. Ghosts who can only live at night cannot find this kind of flower. It's so easy to get the blue bana flower. Is that why the system asked me to travel here? I almost ignored it. Syaruo counted among the flowers, and there were actually 18 blue bana flowers in this pile of flowers. Not in a hurry to explore this world, Syaruo first returned to the real world, searched for knowledge about how to transplant flowers, and then transplanted the blue Bianhua into her private space, because time in the space is static, so it will not afraid of it withering. If it can be cultivated in the future, the blue Bianhua may be able to grow on a large scale. At that time, if you get some blood of Oni Wutsuji, you will become a ghost first, and then use the blue Bianhua, which is equivalent to an elixir of life. Elixir. The real elixir. Syaruo didn't expect to have such a harvest in this world. However, there is a flaw in achieving immortality by becoming a ghost. That is, even with the Bianhua, the identity is still a ghost, and he still has to eat human flesh for a living. Of course, it is also possible to drink only human blood like Miss Zushi. However, nowadays, immortality only exists in Syaruo's beautiful ideal. To truly achieve this, you still need the blood of Gui Wutsuji, or the blood made by Zushi. I can't beat Ghost Dance Tsuji, and all I think about now is dreaming. Originally, Syaruo thought this was just a simple world, but she didn't expect such a surprise. Sure enough, every world in the animation should not be underestimated. There are too many bugs in it. After collecting all the blue flowers of the other side, Syaruo searched all the nearby places again, and only after checking all the places and confirming that there were really none, Syaruo let this place go. Looking at the sky, it was probably afternoon before Syaruo officially started to walk out of the forest. Using her own wind travel technique, Syaruo ran for 2 or 3 hours before seeing a place like a small town. PS1, it's the end of the month, let me make a little update on the plot of this world. PS2, in the previous 4 days, an average of 6,000 characters were updated every day, and the code was around 12 o'clock every day, which is equivalent to repaying the 4 changes. In addition, the ode today will be repaid in June, so I will never forget it. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 150. Syaruo soon arrived in the small town, but the town he was in now seemed very peaceful, and the faces of pedestrians coming and going had natural expressions on their faces, as if they were indifferent to the world. Been haunted by ghosts. What Syaruo wants to do now is to join the Ghost Slayer squad first, but finding the headquarters of the Ghost Slayer squad is just a problem. I want to find someone to ask the way, but the location of the headquarters of the Ghost Killing Squad is very secret, even Wu Mian doesn't know where it is, and I can't get any results when I try to ask the way. At this time, it seems to have reached an impasse. But there is always a way to figure it out. Xiaoruo immediately came up with a way. He looked left and right, and then walked to a stall selling things. The seller was an old man, and what looked like toys for little ones. "What does this little brother want to buy?" the old man who set up the stall asked enthusiastically. In his opinion, the little brother in front of him didn't look like someone short of money at all. He was dressed in strange styles, and there was a cat on his shoulder. It's just that when Xiaoruo heard his question, she took out a grain of gold and handed it directly to the old man who sold things. "I just want to ask something, and I hope the old man can tell me the truth. Gold is common everywhere." After the old man glanced at the gold, his eyes burst into light, and he immediately put the gold in his arms. "Little brother, if you have any questions, just ask. As long as I know, I will definitely tell you. I just want to know if there are any weird things happening nearby," Xiaoruo asked, looking into the old man's eyes. "Strange things." The old man didn't expect the little brother in front of him to ask him such a thing after giving him gold, so he glanced at Xiaoruo thoughtfully. "For example, are there any rumors of mysterious disappearances or inexplicable deaths nearby?" Xiaoruo gave a general range. "Tell me about the surrounding towns, villages, and places where these rumors appear." "These rumors, I remember they seem to exist." The old man rubbed his chin with his hands and thought for a while. "I think I heard from the guy at the previous booth that many women and children seem to be missing in the town next door. Their families are looking for them, but they can't be found anywhere. Alas, even if there is no war, the world is not peaceful." When the old man spoke, he seemed to care about something. "Where is that town?" Xiaoruo asked quickly. "Go north, there is a main road, just follow the main road and you will be there." The old man pointed out the direction, but he still reminded the little brother in front of him. "Little brother, places where people are missing are usually dangerous. I advise little brother not to go. Older people know more than the average person, and they naturally know that there must be something bad going on in places where people go missing and die." "Thank you, old man, I will pay attention to safety." Xiaoruo smiled at the old man, and then walked in the direction given by the old man. "Well." The old man looked at Xiaoruo's leaving back, shook his head, then stretched his hand into his arms, touching the gold he had just received. Xiaoruo found a clue at this time, and her mood became much better. If there is a clue, there will be a direction. Bizarre disappearances, deaths, where such rumors appear, in the world of Demon Slayer, there is a high probability that there are evil spirits eating people. Although most people do not know the news of the existence of ghosts, as long as you follow this direction, if you look for it, you will definitely find the ghost. As long as you find ghosts and kill ghosts all the way, you will definitely meet ghost hunters. When the ghost killing team is short of people, just join yourself. The plan is simple and there are no major problems. Following the direction pointed by the old man, Xiaoruo found the main road, and then walked along the road. However, when Xiaoruo arrived at the town that the old man mentioned that people often disappeared, it was already dark. It was dark, and it was the time when the evil spirits were active. Taking advantage of the night, Xiaoruo slowly walked into the town, but at this time, a gust of cold wind blew past. Meow. Tom didn't seem to like the atmosphere of the night very much. "What are you afraid of? Ghosts are not as scary as monsters." Xiaoruo stroked Tom's fur and comforted him. "There are no street lights in this small town at night, and the surrounding houses are also pitch black. It seems that everyone is sleeping. Xiaoruo has good eyesight and can see the surrounding situation clearly at night." "Will ghosts appear?" Syoruo doesn't have the sense of smell of the protagonist Tanjiro. In such a big town, it doesn't seem so easy to find ghosts. Suddenly, a male voice appeared behind Syoruo. "It's so late, what are you doing here if you don't go home?" Hearing this voice, Syoruo turned around, and then saw a black-haired, unremarkable figure, wearing a black uniform of the Ghost Slayer squad, with a sun-will knife on his waist. It seems that Syoruo's luck is good. She met a member of the ghost-killing team when she first arrived here, and the other party probably came here for the ghosts in this town. Syoruo looked at the face of the member of the ghost-killing team, and he found that this person was actually a plot character. Murata, a member of the ghost-killing squad with a passerby face, has a good personality and is not bad, but his strength is not strong, but he also has an advantage, that is, he is lucky. No matter what kind of crisis he encounters, he will be safe and unscathed. I heard that many women and children are missing here, so I suspect that there are ghosts here, so I came here to have a look, Syoruo replied naturally. You know there are ghosts, so you dare to come and see them? Murata looked at the boy in front of him curiously. It is not unusual to know the existence of ghosts, but it is a strange configuration to have a cat on his body. It is estimated that he knew the existence of ghosts, and he must be some hot-blooded teenagers. Murata seems to have his own way of distinguishing ghosts, so he doesn't regard Syoruo as a ghost. Go back quickly. Ghosts are very dangerous creatures. They eat people. They are not something ordinary people can deal with. Call. When Murata was persuading Syoruo, there was a sudden gust of wind, and Murata immediately rushed forward and grabbed Syoruo's clothes, and then took him to hide in a corner. Looking at Murata's movements, Syoruo didn't resist, looked at him curiously. I saw that Murata's hiding posture and movements were very skillful. Be careful, the ghost is out. Murata looked serious and looked around vigilantly. Yeah. Syoruo also carefully sensed the surroundings, but found nothing. 5 minutes passed like this. Murata stood up slowly, touched his head. I may have felt wrong just now. Looking at Murata's ordinary face, Syoruo finally understood why Murata was so weak, but could survive in the ghost-killing team with such a high death rate. It's okay, it's better to be cautious, Syoruo said after thinking about it.